Hey guys, it's Lorentz from iWood COSPLAY, and today I'm going to show you guys how I made Deku's leg armor. So it's been a while since I made a tutorial, and a lot of you guys have been asking how I put my patterns together that are oversized, and I'm going to show you guys how to do that right now. But if you already know how to do that, here's a timestamp. You guys can click on those and skip the steps you guys want. So some of the patterns are going to be very large and they're going to span multiple pages, like so. So what I like to do is I like to pick one of those edges and trim them off like so. So what that creates is a nice seamless edge that will overlap perfectly with the other side, as we can see here. I'm just going to do that for all the sheets that are overlapping and then attach them together with Scotch tape. And that's how I recommend you connect oversized patterns together. So here's an optional step. You can put your pattern onto cardstock, and I just attach that using spray adhesive. You can use a Loctite 200 or any general purpose spray 77. And what that does is it makes the pattern thicker so that when you transfer it onto foam, it's a lot easier. When we have all that made, then we're going to cut out the pattern with a utility knife, or scissors if you prefer that. Okay, and here are all the patterns cut out. There's not many parts to it, but I'm gonna show you guys exactly how to make each of them look like fabric. For the knee pads, I use 6mm in this tutorial. However, when I put it together, I think using something thicker like a 8, 10, or even 12mm might be better just so it has more volume. So with that in mind, let's go back to the tutorial. Here, I'm just putting the pattern onto the foam and tracing it out with a silver Sharpie. And we're gonna do that twice, one for the right leg and one for the left leg, of course. So once that's done, we should have something that looks like this. So for the thigh piece, I'm just using 8mm. You can definitely use something thinner, like a 6mm. I do find that anything larger than that is gonna be hard to walk in. I mean, they are wrapped around your thighs, so keep that in mind. So just like the other piece, we're just gonna transfer it onto the foam using a silver Sharpie. Here you can see the mirror edge. We're gonna use that to flip the pattern over to complete the pattern. And if you do everything correctly, you should have something that looks like this. So for the trim, because it's thinner, I recommend using some needles to pin it down so that the pattern doesn't move as you trace it. Once we're done transferring the pattern onto the foam, we're ready to cut it out using a utility knife. Make sure it's sharp. Of course, you can use a blade sharpener, just like this one. I highly recommend keeping your blade sharp. It'll make your crafting process so much easier. Now for the knee pads, this is an optional step. I like to punch out this circular hole with a brass rod. You don't have to do this. You can definitely just cut a square around that instead of a circular detail, but this is just how I do it. Okay, so once we have all the foam pieces cut out, we're ready for the next step, which is heat shaping it with a heat gun. And some of you guys might ask, can I use a blow dryer instead? And the answer is no, just because the blow dryer doesn't produce enough heat to heat shape the foam. So you guys might have seen in my other tutorials, I like using the styrofoam ball to heat shape round objects. So that's what I'm doing right here. So I'm gonna do that for both knee pads, and once it's nice and round, I'm gonna apply some good old contact cement along the dart you see right here. In case you end up with excess contact cement, it's not a big deal. I just take this piece of scrap foam and clean up the application like so. Give it a few minutes to dry before putting the two edges together. Next, I'm going to work on the thigh piece. I'm going to start by tracing the position of the trim onto the thigh piece like so. I'm going to pin it down. So once the trim is securely pinned onto the thigh piece, like so, we're just going to trace out the position with a silver Sharpie, and then follow it up with some contact cement on both of those pieces. And just like before, give it a few minutes, let it dry, tacky to a touch before putting the two pieces together. And of course, just take your time here, carefully lining up the trim along the edge of the thigh piece. So once the trim is attached to the thigh piece, we're going to apply contact cement to the two seam edges we see right here. All right, and you guys know the deal. Apply the contact cement, give it a few minutes to dry, tack it to a touch before putting the two seam edges together. And if you do everything correctly, you should have something that looks like this. Okay, and do the same thing to the other side, and bam, you should have something that looks like this. So we just did the thigh piece and the knee pads. So here's something new that I haven't shown you guys in this channel. For the calves, we're using this upholstery foam, and I'm gonna show you guys how I do that right now. So just like the other pattern pieces, we're going to take the pattern and transfer it onto the material like so. And of course, mirror the pattern along the mirror edge. And that's how it looks like on the foam piece. And of course, we're gonna do that twice for the left and the right leg. So the best method I found in cutting this upholstery foam is using a nice pair of fabric scissors. Yes, I recommend getting a pair of fabric scissors just because they're sharp and you can count on them to do the job right. So here I'm just picking an edge and slowly cutting out the pattern like so. And with a sharp pair of fabric scissors, you can get nice seamless edges. And just take your time with it, it'll make the finish a lot better. Now for this trench detail you see right here, I use a utility knife just for that small edge right there. So here comes the cool part with using the pair of scissors. You can actually shave or trim the foam like so. Here I'm creating the beveled edge along the bottom trim of the pattern. Okay, and if you messed up like me, you can just trim the edge that you messed up on, like so. Okay, and we're just gonna continue that method to the other side of the edge as well. And if you aren't happy with the bevel you got, you can always come back with the scissors and trim them off like so. But with all that, we have something that looks like this. And in my opinion, it looks pretty cool. This is definitely something I want to try in other projects. Definitely need more practice working with this material, but I actually really like it. So apply a generous amount of contact cement to the seam edges. You guys know the deal. Give it a few minutes to dry before putting the two edges together. So because this material is super spongy, I like to really push these two seam edges together to make sure they're actually in contact. So that's what I'm doing right here. So now that we have all the foam pieces made, we're ready to go to the next part, which is the fabric part. So here I'm just measuring the circumference of my thigh as well as the length of my leg. And based off the pattern, I'm going to adjust accordingly. The legging pattern is gonna look like this. Now I'm gonna take that pattern and transfer it onto the fabric of choice. Here I'm using Yaya Han's Ultra Premium Black fabric. So here you see I folded the fabric in half. That way I don't have to mirror the fabric twice and I can just trace on one side. Here I'm conserving the position of the fabric by clipping along the edges like so. So the important part here is make sure the fabric is folded and clipped together before stitching along the pattern edge like so. And this is how it looks like on my leg, and you'll know if you need to add a little bit more to the pattern or take in a little bit of it according to your leg size. So now that we made the leggings, we're just gonna wrap up all the foam pieces we made with the same fabric that we made the leggings. So the downside about buying the leggings off Amazon is these next few steps where we wrap the foam pieces up, it might be kind of hard to find the same fabric. And with that in mind, let's go into this tutorial. So here I'm just gonna measure the circumference of the calf like so. Here I see it's 19, so I'm going to cut out a strap of 19 inches and cut it out like so. Here you can see the pattern on the fabric. You don't really need it. From what I found, you just need a tube to basically wrap around the sewn piece. Of course, the important thing is to make sure the circumference fits around whatever you're trying to wrap. Okay, so once we have that tube, we're just going to fit in the foam piece like so. Here we have something that looks like this. Of course, you want to put the seam edge on the back of the calf so that it's not apparent in the front. And then I'm going to apply some Loctite 200 and wrap the foam like so. So once you apply the Loctite 200, give it about a few seconds to dry up before pressing it down. And some push and pull might be necessary to reduce the number of wrinkles you'll produce. So for the bottom edge of this, we're just gonna flip it inside out and spray the Loctite 200. So for this trench detail, we're just going to cut the fabric like so, and definitely need some push and pull to make this as seamless as possible. And if this is your first time working with this, it's gonna be a little difficult and messy. Just take your time with it, you'll get it down. And if you oversprayed any of the Loctite 200 onto the black fabric, don't worry, you can come back with some Goo Gone and just wipe it off. Okay, and we're gonna do the same thing for the knee pads. We're creating tubes here, and the length of these tubes are gonna be dependent on the circumference around your knees. So once we have the tubes made, we're going to pin them down onto some EVA foam sheets, and then apply some contact cement. Do the same thing to the knee pads, let them dry before putting the two pieces together. Now for this wrap, I like to work from the center of the knee pad and then work around to the edges of the knee pad. So definitely take your time here. You don't want to produce any wrinkles because that's not gonna look pretty. Okay, and if you did it correctly, you should have something that looks like this. Okay, cool. Now we're done with the knee pads. So the last thing we need to do is the thigh piece. So for the thigh piece, it's either you bought the leggings or you made them, but we're gonna use the leggings to wrap the thigh piece. So here we're lining up the seam edges of the thigh piece according to the seam edge of the leggings. And we're just going to fit it in like so. So once the thigh piece is positioned accordingly, we're going to flip the excess legging piece and apply some contact cement. Okay, and once again, you guys know the deal. Let it dry, slowly wrap it around the foam, and the trench detail, we're going to trim around it and push and pull, just like we saw in the calves, to get that nice seamless finish. Here I'm showing you guys, and it's going really quick, but it's actually really messy and it does take a while to do this part well. So don't get frustrated if you have a hard time doing this. So once you wrap up all the foam pieces with the fabric, we're basically done. Pat yourself on the back. This is a pretty difficult tutorial if you do it this way, but the results are definitely worth it. Okay, and if you guys have any questions, which you might, leave them down below and I'll get back to you guys as soon as possible. If you like this video, make sure you hit that like button. If you guys are new here, check out these other videos or feel free to subscribe right there. Until next time, I will see you guys. Bye-bye.